At this very moment, I am speaking to you as you view me using the cheapest vlog option that I found for full-frame Sony cameras. From 2014, the Rokinon 12mm f2.0. I'm actually reading it from the top of the lens right here. And just how cheap can you get this lens? Well, in some places like Adorama.com, as low as $139 used, with your choice of shipping and handling and tax. So clearly that puts this in a price league all of its own, especially used, and can probably be found even less on markets like eBay. So what's the catch? What's the caveat? What's the con? Well, for one, the lens is 100% manual with manual focus and manual aperture adjustment, which when you're adjusting like I'm doing, can be kind of okay to have a good tactile thing to grab, so that's really not too terrible. The other catch is this lens is made for crop sensor cameras, ASP-C, so having it on a full frame, I'm zoomed in right now. This 12mm is probably more than equivalent to 18mm, and with active stabilization on here on the A7IV, we're equivalency, I gotta keep using the word equivalent, roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe closer to 20mm when all is being said and done. And if you want a wide angle lens to put on your full frame body for still shots, this ain't it, chief. Just look at that ring around all these photos that I'm showing you right now. So I'm not gonna kid you at all. If you want a wide angle lens, get a wide angle lens that's made for a full frame body. That will be your best bet. And when talking stills, you can only zoom in when you're using JPEGs. You can't zoom in when you're doing RAW photos. One more note on using this lens on a full frame, you won't have your EXIF data because it's all manual. Basically, when you go into an app like Lightroom or your photo editor of choice, you won't know what your aperture was set to when you took the photo using this 12mm Rokinon lens. Oh, just look at that wide distortion here for vlogging. Then this is definitely an acquired taste. Some people don't want their vlog lenses wide, want to be a little bit closer. I kind of like the wider and just sort of avoiding the edges with my hand, or if someone else is in there, we kind of squeeze into the center, but that's just a style thing. While it's the cheapest option, I never said it was probably the best option for vlogging on a full frame Sony camera. And just how do you literally get this thing working on a full frame camera? Inside now, I'm gonna take you through a few things to do to not only just set up this Rokinon 12mm manual lens, but also if you've got some vintage lenses, you can find this kind of stuff useful too. And I'm gonna focus on the video side because I already told you that probably not the best option for your still photography. Everything we're gonna do is in the red menu to make this really easy. Make sure that your camera is in the video tab mode here. Not sure super what to call that, but set the video. Now come over to your red menu, and number one is gonna be in the number one section, the APS-C shooting mode. I recommend mapping this to a button wherever you feel comfortable. I got mine right in the middle here, so I can bounce in really quick. Sometimes you change settings, you change your hotkeys around, your zoom mode is gonna change, but you also don't really have to use this lens in a 1.5 times crop. I'm just using that 1.5 times crop to be able to get to quickly. I'm turning what can be a negative when shooting in 4K with that 1.5 time crop into a positive to my benefit when I need a little extra reach. See what I did there? It's like a dad joke mixed with a photographer joke to make, like, you know, just moving on. Still staying in that red menu, we're gonna go down to silent shutter. That is number 6, and we're gonna go over to release without lens. And what this is gonna do for you is just let you literally do what it says. When there's no automated thing or components or electrical connections inside of a lens, it's all manual. This is gonna allow you to use a completely manual lens like this or vintage lenses like this one right here. Next up in the menu, go down to number 9, image stabilization, and go over to focal length. Of course, that is set to 12mm. So what this is gonna do is help your camera know how to adjust for things like steady shot, which I, of course, recommend using when vlogging and walking. And another thing I recommend doing is putting this into your custom menu, as I have right here with focal length, so you can get to it quickly, and with zoom that we're about to go to right now. So still in the red menu, we're gonna go into number 10, zoom. Simple enough. And what zoom is just gonna do is this whole number right here. Now to get rid of those vignetting corners there in the shot, you're just gonna zoom in and you can go to 1.2 or stop on the last click of 1.1. Now going to 1.1 or 1.2 is kind of the sweet spot on this particular lens. And another thing that I recommend doing is going back here and setting a hotkey to get to zoom. So while still in video mode, I've got my hotkey set to the left dial button right here. So I can go into zooming. Again, when changing settings around, going from stills video, maybe from 1, 2, and 3 on top of the dial, your zoom settings are gonna change sometimes. So having that right there is fantastic. And having it right next to ASP-C button to crop in and push in is also pretty fantastic. Perfect example, when you go into APS-C crop mode, your zoom's gone, but I can just quickly hit this over here and get it right back where it needs to be, 1.1, 1.2. One more hotkey I want to show you that I have on all the lenses, no matter if it's autofocus or not, is I've mapped my C2 button to be magnification. Very important to know the distinction between magnification and zoom. Zoom that I'll use right here is how your image is going to be shot. Magnification is just going to pop in, help you pull focus, either using focus peaking or focus mapping. Now I'm discovered in some modes I can't get focus mapping to even work this lens. And of course on the back you can move your cursor around to see exactly what you're focusing on. And yeah, I'll do this even when pointing the camera at me, vlogging too. And it's important to note that while never said this was probably the best option, just the cheapest for turning the camera on you in vlogging, it is a good habit to get into using these lenses in a manual way. As great as autofocus is, it is just not perfect. Sometimes in crowds and sometimes in front of very contrasty things like flower backgrounds. I've just had to pop this camera right into manual in video mode, throw all that autofocus out of the window and keep shooting. And I've got my autofocus on and off button, not keyed, right here. I don't really walk in some frame like this, so autofocus isn't really a thing. Also, it's not a very flattering angle. Might be stuck here. I got a trick knee that kind of moves from the left to the right knee, so. Rainy, you help me up? Thanks, son. Oh! For years, I've never really had autofocus. I didn't have dual pixel autofocus on a Canon camera until like 2016, so I'm pretty used to just manually adjusting focus, and when you're holding the camera, it's right here to focus. That 2.0 aperture is really nice when it gets to doing its thing though. f2.8 wide open, you see the truck right there. Now just adjusting on the lens itself, we'll go to, how about f4, that bokeh kind of should start to fade a bit, but it's a wide angle lens, so it really wouldn't be that much bokeh anyways, unless you're super close up on something. Here I am at f8, which some would say f8 is kind of the sweet spot for this lens from some other reviewers I've seen who go way more in depth in the pixel peeping and lens analyzation. So to sum all of this video up, this lens really is the cheapest, while not the most convenient option on the market. It also isn't like the most laborious chore either. Don't get that idea about shooting with the Rokinon 12mm lens. Nobody's coming. I want to get run over from behind. Walking into Mr. Rushmore's for some fun and games, and get subscribed. I'm going to do a video because he's got the coolest house ever that'll probably be coming out sometime in summer. Let's get over here where the light is better. So yeah, that'll probably be sometime in summertime to check his place out. Let's just end with some like slow-mo stuff right now.